Guest is a 2014 thriller, action, adventure, drama, horror. It's got a little bit of everything. It was directed by Adam Wingard, the director of Your Next. I only saw Your Next once, and it kind of wasn't quite what I was expecting going into it. So I didn't quite like it as much as I had hoped to, but it really wasn't what I was expecting. So I do kind of got to go back and give that another shot, knowing what it is now, since I was kind of thrown for a loop the first time. And I think my somewhat negative feelings, they weren't even negative, but because I didn't like the movie, I think it might have been because it wasn't quite what I thought it would be. In this movie, a family is kind of going through the death of their son, and one day out of the blue, this guy shows up on their doorstep and says he was friends with their son, and it seems like their son died in the military. And this guy seems like he knew them in the military, and in one of their pictures up on the wall of their son in his unit, you see the stranger was in his unit, and so he comes by to talk to the family, and they ask where he's staying, and he says he doesn't have a place to stay. So they insist, why don't you stay with us for a while? And it's a mom and dad and two kids. One of the kids is their 20-year-old daughter, played by Micah Monroe. I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. She was the star of It Follows, and their teenage son. So it's an older daughter and a young high school son. And so this mysterious guy starts, living with the family, and you never quite know what he's doing, what his plans are. And so the whole movie it develops a little slowly, but you really get to watch him kind of doing weird stuff, and you never quite get a grasp of what he's doing. It's one of those movies that it seems like the more you know as the movie's going on, the less you know. You never get a really good idea for what's happening. The one thing that did really stick out to me about Your Next is the use of music in the movie. Whenever I think of the movie, I think of the trailer, which I really liked because it had some really good use of music I liked in the movie. If you go and watch you could even just watch the trailer, and I think it really creates what I'm talking about. It uses the song "Perfect Day" to really, it's an interesting dichotomy going the horror of the movie with this happy, upbeat song. I really like the way it works. And much like Your Next, I really like the use of music in this movie. It reminds me of, actually, It Follows, which features the same actress, where it's kind of like an 80s throwback. It's got like a real synthy feel to it. So it's like an 80s synth pop at times, and it really makes a cool contrast to like the action horror movie going on. I really liked what they did with that, and to me that really stuck out as something cool, especially in kind of near the end of the movie. Because it's from a director who has done horror movies in the past, I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. It's certainly got some elements of what could be horror, but it's more of an action movie. It's really kind of an action thriller, and I found it to be pretty interesting. It's by no means anything spectacular or amazingly noteworthy. I'm going to give the movie 3 out of 5 ties. I thought it was interesting and entertaining, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it wasn't terrific. It was entertaining, but it never really elevated to something special. I would say for fans of thrillers or mysteries, because it's very much got kind of an interesting mystery element going for a majority of the movie, I'd say it's definitely worth a watch. For fans of horror movies, it's maybe worth a watch. I mean, it's an action movie, but it's got some real horror movie type vibe to it. Uh, I would say if you're not a horror movie fan, I wouldn't let that scare you away because the horror elements are pretty. It's more like a vibe of a horror movie than actually being a horror movie. All in all, it's a pretty fun kind of throwback. It very much feels like an 80s movie, but the one thing I've kind of always thought about 80s movies is a lot of 80s movies I saw, I didn't think were very good. And I do think this is better than most 80s movies I've seen, so it definitely has that going for it. It's got kind of an 80s vibe without being as trashy as I think a lot of 80s movies are. By 80s vibe, I mean it does have a little bit of a feel, kind of like, like Drive did. Obviously not as good a movie as Drive. All in all, it's decent, and I don't think if you watch it, you'll be upset for having, wasted your time. I don't think it's something that you should go out of your way to avoid. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you saw, please click subscribe.